Today's video is brought to you by Fuji. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of IT Blocks, very own tips and tricks, I guess. So today we're gonna speak more about websites for small to medium-sized companies. I believe most of you out there would naturally just simply employ some developers to actually handle that for you, which is obviously the way to go. But there are options out there. I mean, in this day, more and more things are being automated, and it is much easier to launch a site these days. Like if you're a small company, a boutique company, a startup, I would just recommend, just go for the Wix subscription or Squarespace subscription. If you're a tiny boutique shop, go for Shopify perhaps if you're in Singapore, and just get that done with, because you don't want to just pay the $20 or $30 per month depending on the subscription that you've picked out, and at least you still have that online presence. You'll still be able to launch the domains and things like that, but you wouldn't have to worry too much about constant security patches, constant updates. I mean, these are which are really vital to the stability of your site. SSL certificates and things like that. These are not these are a constant headache, which also brings me to my next point. So what do you do when you are going to choose a developer? So who do you choose? What do you do? I mean, what type of site do you want to launch? Here are a few of my favorites. I mean, Drupal is one of my all-time favorites. The most secure site out there, not very easy to program, so it's really difficult for you to find programmers that are very familiar or really good at Drupal. But when you do, you do have to know that Drupal is one of the most stable and most secure CMS systems out there. Even like the White House, many ministries of defenses all around the world, they use Drupal as their site because of that added layer of protection due to its complexity in coding. So apart from Drupal, you can also consider, obviously WordPress is the very common and very famous CMS. Of course, WordPress is more of a, if you don't exactly have the budget for it, you want to keep the cost low, but you still want to make your own, you go for WordPress. Developers are relatively cheap, cheaper, I would say, not cheap exactly. But you always have to take note that these things require constant patches, require constant updates, and you have to always maintain these security updates, because these are vital. You do not want unwanted things to come into your website. I mean, you can have what I've found before is that we found mining activities happening inside website instances and things like that, and it's all because of companies not bothering to hire developers regularly to actually go into the system and make sure everything's updated, everything's patched properly. So if you're in e-commerce, one of the most famous e-commerce platforms out there is Magento. I mean, it's a very powerful, very powerful e-commerce solution. Of course, if you're only selling hundreds of items, I think you're probably better off using Shopify instead of Magento. But if you are churning out products by the thousands and you expect a really high rate of purchases and transactions, then Magento is the way to go. But again, it was gonna cost you, and you also have to constantly maintain the backend. On top of that, there's also hosting. I mean, for me personally, I prefer hosting on Amazon Web Services. Relatively easy to host, very easy to administrate. Of course, then again, is maybe easy for me, but not exactly easy for anyone else. And I would always recommend companies out there, do not ever let your developers host your sites for you. Do not ever let them have your sites for you. This is such a common practice, and it's extremely against your interest. I mean, any kind of if you're thinking of switching developers or moving or shifting out, you're gonna end up paying the developers just to shift these things out, because they were never in your position in the first place. So how do you ensure that? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to find companies just like myself, to actually look after your infrastructure for you. I mean, administrate these Amazon Web Services or Azure or wherever it is that you host these. Manage your domains, making sure that these assets are always in your possession and only your possession alone. All right. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you.